Okay, gotta get rid of that. Okay, so let's get started. The first item is the approval of the minutes from the June meeting. There was one question, Kevin, were you able to find out, clarify when the Ulster County Fair event is? I don't think it was June.
No, well, the thing that Mike spoke about, I put it in the, and you probably didn't see it, it was the end of that email response with the link for tonight's meeting was at 48 minutes into the last meeting. The June was kind of correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, was a Zoom kind of orientation or meeting in preparation for the county fair. The county fair is August 1st through 6th.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. So has that been clarified in the minutes? Can we approve them?
I didn't make that change yet because we didn't know the date of the Ulster County Fair, so it wasn't reflected in the minutes at the time.
Okay, so I'll move that we approve those minutes with the correction, with that correction. Is that appropriate, Kevin? You'll take care of that?
Yeah, I'll add an addendum or whatever.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Everybody, anyone opposed? Okay, passed, great. Next on the agenda, the Climate Smart Communities expired actions that we've been talking about now for a while. I did send everyone a revised list of the expired act of all the actions that we were approved for back in 2019. And it listed those that are expired and those that are not expired. So I thought maybe we could work off of that list. And I thought the other thing, and tell me if you think this will be helpful or not. I thought it might be helpful for us to go on the Climate Smart Communities website and go through an action to go through the process of what we're going to have to do for a particular action in order to get the documentation, in order to get recertified. Would that be helpful at this point, or is everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very helpful.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know I went through the tutorial. I'm sure you all did too, but I thought there was still some matters that needed to be corrected. Now, host is it? Oh yeah, Kevin, if you could help me share the screen. Now, the last time I had trouble sharing my screen, but let's see. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, over here, here we go. Okay, so as the tutorial said, once you go on the website, climatesmartnewyork.gov, have all of you been on there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so once you get on there, you will see all the different actions that are listed. And on the revised sheet I gave you, we put in whether it's a PE1 or a PE3 or a PE8, whatever. So what I thought we could do now is just take an example. I'll do the first one here, Action Task Force, okay? That has expired. Well, I got to get rid of my video.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, that's making me crazy. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so assume you're going to get documentation for the task force. Okay, so you obviously you tap on that, click on that. Okay, and then you'll see why it's important. And this isn't scrolling down, so I'll do it like this. Okay, how to implement it, time frame, what government, how to obtain points for this. So in that section, it'll tell you, and I can't see the whole thing because it's over there, how to receive points for this. And then it'll tell you what to submit. Okay, so for example, a copy of the resolution, executive memorandum or executive order establishing the task force, that the task force has been active, that it's been serving as a task force, and a copy of the resolution, executive memorandum, etc. And then a list of the task force members. You have to show that they represent, what parts of the community they represent, the affiliation of each member, et cetera, and the meeting minutes. Okay, so that's what I saw. That's what we have to submit. However, and this is what I failed to do in the beginning, which is why I'm going to point it out now. Go down to H, because H is the recertification requirements. Okay, and there are exceptions.
Mhm.
Except the application you don't have to submit, or a new resolution, or a memorandum, or an executive order. Okay, so in terms of the process, that I think for me was very helpful to look at what they wanted, see if that's still what they want, and then go down to recertification in case there's anything that's changed.
That makes sense because nothing, those things are really not apt to be changed. So there may be other things that need to be updated, but certainly those would not, I would imagine.
What do you mean those? The task force?
Well, I mean, a new resolution, executive
Oh, yes.
memorandum.
You're right,
um,
exactly.
So
Mhm.
it doesn't look like anything has to be updated.
Well, you will have to update the task force members because back in
It
2019,
says with the exception that applicants are not, oh, wait a minute. All right, so just the new members.
the new members, their affiliation, the minutes. And I think, and that's probably it. If we want to go back up to that, what to submit. Okay, I just point that out because sometimes it's what to submit is the same thing as the last time. Sometimes it's changed. So does that help at all? Is that, yeah, okay, all righty. I don't think we have to go through any more of them unless someone has a specific one that they want to go through. No, okay, all righty. So let me get rid of this. And go over here, somewhere over here. Okay. All right, here are the expired and those that are not expired. So I thought at this point, it might be helpful to just kind of go through them, see who's doing what, see if anyone has any questions about going forward. In terms of the task force, I think that is going to be pretty straightforward. I think that's going to be pretty easy to get. I don't think that's going to be a problem. The appoints the coordinator, I already did that. I posted that already. So the next one is the regional climate program participation. Does anyone want to take that on and take a look at it? We got certified for it the last time. And it's 3 points. So that's something we would have to, that's something we might want to look into if somebody wants to take that one on. The next one is natural resources inventory. That's 10 points. We got certified for that the last time. It's 10 years old. And I was hoping somebody, I don't, Leslie, you, is that something you might be interested in working on?
Well, I would have to know really well what kind of time commitment it is, because as I responded to you that I am really tapped out with so much, including, you know, the upcoming pollinator meadow and the Esopus stream work, and then a lot of other volunteer work that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it would involve anything more than like 20 hours, I absolutely can't do it. So I don't know what, you know, what the work commitment is, and I suspect it.
Mary, do you know if that was completed in the last 10 years? Because if it's within the last 10 years, you just resubmit it.
No, it's not within the last 10 years.
Oh, then that has to be redone, I guess, or updated.
That
Yeah,
has to be.
I wouldn't even, honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start, but I am going to go to the virtual meeting that's going to be next week. But I am not willing to commit to it. I'm willing to look at what we have because I've never actually read it. I'm not sure how it was put together 10 years ago and who was involved. So I'm kind of working on no information at this point.
Right. Okay, well, leave it at that. What, if you want to just take a look at that,
Mhm.
what is it, PE 6? If you want to take a look at what they are requiring and see how much it does involve and, make a
Okay.
decision at that point. But understood,
yeah.
Leslie.
And it says natural resources inventory documented. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could just say, hey, yes, we have one, but okay.
See that, yeah, that's where you have to go to what to submit and what to
Mhm.
submit for recertification.
Okay,
it's
I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's usually not all that cut and dry and clear. Okay, website created. I know, Ken, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. The town has a website, obviously, and they have a link to us. So that I think if we go through what the recertification requires, we can identify things. We might have to do a link on our part of the town website, maybe linking our minutes for the past year, other things, but I'd be happy to look through the actual items and see if I can write up a draft summary that says what we've done and what we need to do. But I think that would be a very simple one to do, not having our own website, but being on the town website. So yeah, I will continue to look into that.
Okay, good. And if I recall correctly, they wanted it to be did they want it to be a town website or can it be our original website? I don't recall.
I think our page is itself a website. It has a URL that people can use to go to us directly. They don't have to get to us by going to the town website and clicking on the link for boards and committees and all. So I think it would satisfy the requirements. We could set up a completely separate website, but it would be identical to what we have. With the additional information that we would simply send to Mike Campbell and have him insert into our page or link with our page. So let me go through what the recertification requirements are. I don't think it says it has to be a completely new one. I think it can be simply a website that is built into another website. Let me go through that and see.
Okay, so that's great. So you'll handle that one for
Yep.
us. The next one is LED street lighting. Skip, I
Yeah,
talked to Skip
I'm here now.
about doing that. Are you there, Skip? Welcome.
I'm
Here's
here.
Skip.
Hey,
I made it.
good,
Still
good.
have my foot.
So we're just going through the climate actions that we have to update to get the town recertified as a climate smart community. So,
Oh, you want me to do the LED thing?
I
Well, I'll
think,
do it with you, Skip.
Okay,
yeah.
let's do the LED.
And
Maybe I'll
we,
take on the LED and the solar too. I think.
well, also the outdoor lighting.
Right.
Let's
Okay,
let's
the
work
three-
together on those two.
You want the two of us to do those three?
That would be great. Yes.
Okay. You up
Yeah.
I
for
don't
that?
know anything about the solar installation, but the other two. we can work.
We'll find out.
Okay,
Okay, well, if you two can do those three, that would be really helpful. And the Facebook page, I know Ken has also been working on that. Ken, do you want to just fill us in on
Sure,
that?
I spoke to Anastasia Redmond because she and Mike Campbell are the ones who seem to be overseeing the town's Facebook page and inserting announcements and other things on it. She said she'd be happy to work with us. It looked like from the recertifying requirements, it has to be a town or a government entity media social media site. I think we probably can do it by putting up our information and links to our information, and Anastasia said she'd be helpful with that. So again, what I will do is go through the recertifying requirements, identify them as item 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, and then write something up for what we satisfy or what we would need to satisfy. And then we could simply work with Anastasia and or Mike Campbell to get it done. I think that would work.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Okay, so residential organic waste program.
I had signed up for, or had volunteered for a action like this, but I think it was in government buildings, not residential. And I'm glad to see this because I didn't think that government buildings, with the exception of the school and the library, would really have a need for organic waste collection. And I talked to Mary McDonald this morning. She seems to know a great deal about this topic, and she said that they had their contract with community composting had been renewed for the next 2 years, well, until 2005. Well, it started last year. It was renewed, and so I don't know if that has, if that's relevant to this, but it would seem to me it would be. And
Yes, I think it would be. And as we go through some of these actions, you see that there are some requirements that this must be within the last year or the last 2 years or the last 5 years. There are time limitations on whether or not they're going to accept an action if it's not pretty current. So,
right. So I'll
Okay.
volunteer for the residential organic waste
Okay.
program.
yeah, if you just
find out
look
more
at
about-
PE5, if you just look in PE5
Sure.
and go through it and see what they require and what the recertification is.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so the next one is the shade structure policy, which has not expired, but that expires in 8/31/25. So I think we're okay with that one. Next is the EV charging stations. And Kathleen has been working on that. Do you want to
Yeah,
fill
I'll
us in,
take care of
Kathleen?
that. Mhm.
You'll take care of that. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot of information already, correct?
Yeah, I downloaded some information on the early one that they put in Greg's at the ice rink, and then the other two. Well, we have 5 altogether. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I have all that information.
Okay, so good.
It's a
So
matter of getting the form. I guess I'm wondering where you get the form to fill out, if they have a blank form on the website. Because the way it was submitted before, it's like in an Excel file. And they ask for the date it was installed and how many ports there are, and if you have any information, how many kilowatts of energy have been like in a year, annual energy use.
Can you
So
get that information, Kathleen? Is that available now?
yeah, that's available because I'm basically the administrator for the charging stations. So I can get on the ChargePoint website and get information off that.
Okay. Okay, good. So you're going to handle that one.
Yeah,
The next one is a comprehensive plan with sustainability elements. That is a PE6, and that's 9 points.
That's
And
not expired though.
yeah, I know, but it does. I just checked it. It expires. It's not expired yet, but it's expiring. And I don't have the date in the top of my head, but it's, I think it's, let me get rid of my screen. I think it's in 2024. I'd have to look it up. It's not expired yet, but depending on when we get the application in, it may have expired. Oh, you know what? Yeah, okay. All right. So we'll have to look into that one. I'm just not clear on the details about it.
the comprehensive plan was recently updated.
Right.
So, I mean, I think, even though it may be expiring, it was updated recently and there are sustainability elements in there. So
Or
I don't think you're gonna have a problem with renewing that.
Okay.
Right,
I
right.
imagine that's true.
Okay, so, all right, so that one has to be looked at. And I think you're right, Kathleen. I think we should probably be able to get the information on that. Let's see. Renewable energy feasibility study. Anybody want to try that
You know what
one?
we did on that? And what was it that we did?
I think it was the feasibility study we did with, I think maybe it was with Arcadia for the town hall and
Yeah.
the senior center back.
Yep.
Back a bit.
No, I don't think it was Acadia.
You know what we did?
They did an energy audit.
They did, right, that's true. So what is it, the renewable energy feasibility? What do we do?
That's a PE4,
PE4, solar energy install is part of that.
renewable energy feasibility study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, I was just curious. It's
Let me see if I can get that screen back.
keep on losing.
Yeah, see, the problem is that my side view is covering my screen, so I can't see it. And I can't close this because it's over here. Okay. All right, so does somebody want to look into that then?
I'll look into that to see what we did and see what was involved. And since it's part of solar energy as well, it's, it's the same PE. I don't know if you guys, Mike and Ken, want to work with
Sure.
me on that, or anyway, we can talk later and figure that out.
Once we see it, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, would you be willing to work on that too?
Which one is that?
That's PE6. Oh, no, excuse me.
No,
It's
it's PE4.
Renewable energy feasibility study.
Sure.
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Well, we did it, so,
Yeah, I know. I don't know what we did though.
who remembers?
okay, yep.
Depends on what they want, and it may have expired, and maybe it has to be done within the last, 3 years or whatever their requirement is
Right,
going to be. So
right.
got to check into that. The next one is the greenhouse gas inventory for government operations. We've done that. I'll do that because I have all of that on the annual report that we put out.
Mhm.
Climate related public event. I
Yeah,
know-
this is Ken. I was working on that. I sent you an email, Mary. Would you like me to share what I suggested?
Sure.
A while back, I found that the Sustainable Hudson Valley website had a speakers bureau for people to talk about climate in the Hudson Valley. And many of the speakers would do it for free, and others had a sliding scale, or they would negotiate how much they would charge. It gives the length of time and the topic and a description. I thought what we could do is select one of these that we thought fit in well, and see if we could arrange with the library for there to be a presentation by the person or persons at the library for our community. And that would be a public event, a climate-related public event.
Sounds
Okay.
very good.
Okay. Yeah, if somebody,
So
I
I just
Leslie,
wonder,
you're
Mary, if something that was already done would even qualify, like
Right.
Nicole
exactly.
did
and Leslie,
something at the library and Leslie did something at the library, and so you've done things recently.
Oh, then we could simply go with those. That would be great, sure.
Yeah,
That would
That's a
be
very
better.
good point, Kathleen. That's a very good point.
If they meet the if those presentations meet the requirements, I think you could You probably already have a flyer and everything for them.
That would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the only aspect of that that I recall is the fact that the government we had to demonstrate that the government was involved, which I think we can do. Because we are,
100% board?
Well, if a member of the task force did it,
exactly, and we're an entity, well, we're a board appointed by the town, so I think we can, that was my only concern, that maybe we wouldn't cut mustard there, but I think that's
Maybe it was advertised on the town website,
probably, may have been, yeah,
which would involve town interaction.
right, and we have the flyer, so we can, and we also have some of the videos, we could give links to the videos.
Right.
yeah.
Very
Was
good
there a
idea.
video, Jen, or am I misthinking?
There was the one that was for the third Thursdays was a video.
Hmm.
I seem to recall that we looked at this and then decided that my talk at the library wasn't gonna do it for some reason. And I think because the library's not government related.
Yeah,
and
but you are. You are,
Okay.
you're on this
Yeah.
task.
You're on a task force authorized
Okay.
by the town.
I don't think
True.
I don't think it's the venue. I think it's the person and the
Okay.
sponsor.
So then I did two. I did the one for the library and then I did one for third Thursdays. So there was a
Right.
in-person and an online one.
Yeah,
Okay, so who would like to follow up with that? I think we've got, this is a good possibility of documenting.
To see what we've
Ken-
already done.
Ken, you were talking about taking it on. Are you still thinking that?
If you want, I'll take a look at it and again, identify what the requirements are and see if we've met the requirements by what's already been done. Sure. Happy to do
Perfect.
it.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, government building, oh, this is what I was thinking of, the government buildings energy audit. That's what I was.
That's the Acadia one.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I must say, I was very disappointed in how they did the audit, but maybe how they do it
Mhm.
for municipal buildings. It's not an energy audit that I would do. So anyway,
Well, it's not expired, so we don't have to
right,
deal.
so we don't have to do anything right now. It's
Yeah.
true.
And the climate action plan for government operations, that's not expired. Okay, the energy code enforcement training. It has not expired, but it expires in August. So Zach, I know you've been in on this part of it, trying to get documentation that NYSERDA approved the training. So.
Yes, I did. I can't open the document on my phone. I believe I did forward it to you yesterday, the Excel sheet that Claudette had provided me. Again, I'm unable to open it on my phone and I don't have my computer available, but according to Claudette, the proof of certification lies within that Excel sheet. I'm just not entirely sure what that sheet looks like at the moment.
Okay, yes, I did take a look at that, and I am going to follow up with this one on the energy code enforcement training.
Okay.
Because I went back into my files and I was able to find something that Kevin Brown, that a certificate certifying Kevin Brown, and that was done in a timely fashion. It would meet the
Okay.
requirement. I will follow up on that.
Okay. If for any reason, that ends up not sufficing for whatever reason, just let me know.
I will. Okay, United Solar permit. That has not expired, but when I checked it recently, it expires in August of 24. So maybe we can let that.
Yeah, we'll
sit.
come back to that point.
Pardon me, Mike?
Oh, I just said we can come back to that one
Right.
in the year.
Okay, and the community greenhouse gas inventory. Ken and I believe will probably work on that because we will be going to the training sessions this fall. There's going to be 4 sessions, and the Ulster County is going to be working with representatives from the different communities to put together a community greenhouse gas inventory. So Ken, I guess you and I will be working on that one as well.
Yes,
So
Okay.
by community, are they talking about Saugerty specific, or are they talking about like Ulster County community, or do we
I
know?
wish I knew the answer, Carol. All I know is that they're going to work with us on doing it. And
Mhm.
if you recall, and you were part of it, I think, Carol, too,
Mhm.
when we did the greenhouse gas inventory of government
Yep.
operations
Yep.
with Europa.
Yep,
I was looking at that, Mary, and I think it's the community. It would be the town, I believe. It's not I don't think it's the county.
okay,
Oh, you think they're going to do it town by town?
I think so.
I just don't have the details on it. I
Yeah,
just signed up
yeah.
for it because I think having a community greenhouse gas inventory is really, really important.
And
So-
on the website, they have resources and everything. You'll be able to get help to do that.
Because if we.
They
can-
have a list of resources, I guess, under most of these actions, if
Mhm.
they're complicated. So, yeah, I think it's the community that would be the town.
Oh, in terms of the inventory, yes, exactly. I understand now. Yes.
Yeah. And
yes, it would
I
be really
think
town.
going forward, they're going to want to focus on businesses.
That would
Because
be,
we did government. We've done government buildings and everything, and I think there's going to be a push for businesses to take energy steps to conserve energy and change what they're doing. I noticed none of the businesses seemed really excited about installing charging stations. Verna and I went and visited a couple of places. We visited 2 banks, and I think the diner up near the Thruway. And also, I think the plaza in Berkeley Heights. I believe that there was, I stopped over there and asked if someone there might be interested, but the owner of, I think the gym is the owner of the plaza, at least it was at the time that I stopped there. They might be interested, but I
I-
think it's going to be a push to get businesses to do more.
As I recall, the community greenhouse gas inventory that we got, I guess it was in 2019, and it was 10 years old at that time. And it broke up the community into different aspects. Mobile, meaning
vehicles.
vehicles, yeah.
Mhm.
Residential, business. There was mobile, resident, and mobile was really the largest amount, emitted the largest amount of the greenhouse gas emissions. And then it was residential and then commercial. And I think there was one other category. But that's something that I think we really need to look at what we're doing as a community and then really work to get down those greenhouse gas emissions.
Just to bring up, Central Hudson is where we get our data. And
Oh,
as we
yeah.
know, it's been really, really, really hard to get accurate data. So it makes it difficult to do an accurate GHG. So I just want to put that out there, not to squash it, because I do believe in figuring out the greenhouse gases. But I do know that the kilowatt hours that people use are in many cases not relevant. So
Yeah.
something to think about.
Yeah, Carol, I think you're talking to the point that we've all experienced these last year and a half or two, trying to
Mhm.
get our readings from Central Hudson accurate and the amount of kilowatt hours. I think you're right, Carol. I think it's going to be a challenge.
We could just
I'm
put that as a caveat.
Point of GHG, I'm happy to do the formula part.
Okay.
That part.
When you say you'll do the formula part, you'll do the.
The data, if whoever collects the data,
Mhm.
I'll crunch it.
Thank you.
I just need to have, at least this is what I assume will happen here too, is we have the data from the LED lighting, and then we, in this case, it would be, we have the data of how many cars go so many miles to so many places, and we'll figure out gasoline usage and how much that produces GHG. And then for houses, taking their kilowatt hours and other fuel uses for their houses, and I could figure out the GHG that they emit, that kind of stuff I'm happy to do. But the data collection, I know, takes time, and I just don't have that much of it right now.
Yeah, but I think to your point, if they provide the data, that would be,
Who would they be? Not, we wouldn't be the ones collecting it?
I don't think so. I know the last time we got it from the state, if you recall, Europa came through at the end with this inventory that the state had done for the towns. So again, I'm just not up to date on what exactly is going to transpire at these sessions.
And it would also be interesting to know how much the developments provide towards all these GHG inventories, since we're expanding with a lot of houses, a lot of rather apartment buildings. So there are that many more people. And I don't know if we have the count of how many people are now living in Saugerties versus 3 years ago, or whenever they did the last census. So it might be a census related one and not an accurate community one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I have a question. We have quite a few new condominium developments
Yep.
that just came online. One's off 9W, there's a couple in Glasgow.
Yep.
How does the planning board interact with that in terms of possible requirements for EV stations?
we require 1 per 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great.
Not those specifically, because we didn't require, those came online prior, their approvals came online a while ago. It just takes a while for them to build it. But
So any new
new developments, including, I think, the ones that are being built right now, are required to have 1 EV per 10 apartments.
that's a great thing. Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's going to be a lot by the look of that area down there.
Yeah.
Do they get funding for that?
Yep.
Or is it
Well,
all
Qatar,
developed? Is that
yeah.
all developed?
Qatar El Masalema, who works for Pretorius and Conrad, is also very much in gung-ho about EVs and EV chargers. And he was thinking that he could help the developers find funding, because there was a lot of support for EV charging stations. So we do have a policy. I don't know if that means anything in terms of getting any points. I think we might have gotten the points for that. Does that show up anywhere?
Yeah.
EV charging stations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 5 charging stations that the town put in.
Oh, not developers. Okay.
not
Yeah,
developers.
this is
Or
different
policy.
though.
Well,
No,
if it's a town policy,
Right.
certainly that's significant.
Yeah, if this is a new planning board policy, we should look into getting points for that.
It was, we put it into play with Steve. Steve came to the town board and did a presentation. And so I think, so that's like a year or 2 old now, when Steve was still around.
Mhm.
So it's been a little while. Mhm.
I wanted to ask about the shade structure policy. I imagine Nicole has worked on that. That's not part of the organic waste program. I mean, that's obviously a different program, but did we discuss that?
Let me go back. Did
That one
we?
doesn't expire yet. That's
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Excuse me.
It's not 2 years until that expires.
Yeah, so we don't want to talk about that, no. No, let's put it off.
Can't guarantee I'll be here.
Sure.
Okay, I think we have a,
Is that it? Oh,
I think that's it. Yeah, I think we've got a plan going on here. I think we're moving along.
Mary, this is Ken. What about the cooling centers? I don't see them on your list.
Right, exactly. Because we're working off the list of what has expired, okay?
Okay,
And now we're going forward also with what we can add and what, in other
Okay.
words, we can do that we haven't done before. And
Gotcha.
I know you were working on the cooling center. And Mike, you were working on some of the vulnerability.
Yeah, well, I looked at it. I could look at it again. Mhm.
Okay,
the resiliency, is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Mary, you were saying that the one thing we seem to be missing for the cooling center was when we first started, I sent you the email from Mike Campbell about when cooling center was first advertised on the town website as being available in July of 2019. I think we can use that as the starting date of official cooling center availability.
okay, yeah, I think that makes sense because we can document that.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Going back to somebody had mentioned resiliency, and that reminded me that this morning, Mary McDonald was talking about resiliency, a flood resiliency network. And, whether that could be added to our actions. Or she didn't phrase it that way, but that apparently there are 7.
Something happened.
Well, anyway, she sent an email to everyone and, no, excuse me, not everyone, but to several people. So I just thought maybe we.
Yes, Elizabeth, thank you. That's next on the agenda, the Flood
Okay.
Resiliency Network. Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, so anything else with the climate smart actions and getting the documentation? There's one other part of it that Skip and I had been talking about. If you want to see what's already been documented, okay? You could do that. I can go through it. I won't go through it now because but there is a way to find it on the website, and I'll send out something to guide you through that so that you can see what has already been documented. You're supposed to see what's been documented. However, when I click on those links, they're not active. It doesn't come up. So Kathleen and I talked about this, and Kathleen, do you want to follow up with our discussion?
Sure. The Flood Resilience Network.
No. Hang on for just a second.
Oh, okay.
Just for a
Oh, you
second.
mean about the issues with the website?
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
Kathleen-
had the same problem you had. I tried to click on the links to be able to look at some of the documents and it would not populate on the screen. So there's an issue, I think, with their website, and we have to contact them. You gave me a contact.
So we know what we've done already.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think it will be frustrating if you try to get on the website and look at something and that happens. Just know it's not you, it's the website, and there's an issue there that they have to solve. And so we're going to contact them and ask them to please correct that so that we can get in and look at documents.
Yeah,
One document.
there were some documents, there were some links that I was able to pull up that were active. But a couple of them are not. So Kathleen's going to follow up with that. I just want to say quickly, if you go onto the website, okay, and you go onto the website and you see where it says bronze certified communities. I'll send this out and you just click on that. A map will come up with all the communities, and the bronze ones will have a little, little marker on them. And if you go to the left and it says list view, you scroll down to Saugerties and you click on that, a screen will pop up and a screen will pop up and it'll say view report. So that's how you get to it. I'll send it out. It's really what was that, 4 steps, 5 steps? It's not that hard to find. So-
And then you have to click on that little icon that says Town of Saugerties. And then it takes you to your report.
Yeah, actually, you don't even have to click on that. If you do list view and click on that, and then comes down to, oh yes, and you come down to the Town of Saugerties, you don't even have to do it on the map. I'll send it out, but because for some of the actions you're working on, you may be able to get what's already been posted. As I think Kathleen used the word before, this is pretty complicated. And it's very detail orientated and it's very specific, and it's just not as easy as we think it could be, or at least I think it could be, but that's just me.
I second
right.
that.
Moving on. Are we ready to move on? Anyone else on that? Good. Okay. Yeah, next on the agenda is the, Kathleen, if you want to take it over from here, it's the network.
Right, the Hudson Valley Flood Resilience Network.
Right.
I have been going to their meetings for a couple of years. They don't have, Mary McNamara first invited me to go to one in Kingston. And members of this Flood Resilience Network are municipal and county governments in the Hudson River Estuary watershed. So anyone associated with the town in some way can join, and they're expected to be working directly or adjacent to the issue of flood resiliency. Since that's part of climate change, I think that certainly applies to the Climate Smart Task Force and the Conservation Advisory Commission. So they sent a form out this year that they wanted people to fill out a member agreement. Let me give you just a little bit of history. This group was launched after Hurricanes Irene and Sandy in 2011 and 2012. And the New York climate, they said, is changing faster than national and global averages. That was one reason that they wanted to get this started. They're expecting up to 75 inches or more of sea level rise by 2100. So there are partners, there are members, and there are partners. The partners are basically organizations like New York Sea Grant, Hudson River Watershed Alliance, the Department of State, Scenic Hudson, and something called the Consensus Building Institute, which basically they handled the meetings in the beginning when we were, just starting this. The first meeting that I attended was in Kingston. I attended a meeting in Hudson at their waterfront park. I attended a meeting in Catskill. We viewed their sewer plant there. And in Kingston, it was the Rondout area. So basically, what they do is share information on what they're doing to address flood resilience in their communities. And it's a place for people to share information. And it's also a place to learn, because they have speakers and resources that they can have come to the meetings and give us up-to-date information. They're also looking out for money. Members achieved over 7 million in grants since 2015 to upgrade wastewater treatment plants, waterfront parks, shorelines, and incorporate resilience in waterfront plans. So the membership requirement is they want you to at least participate in 1 or 2 meetings a year. an educational meeting and a site meeting. At the site meetings, for instance, in Beacon, we toured their waterfront park and we were shown different methods that they use there to make their park flood resilient. They have anchored benches with concrete right into the ground. They have done the same thing with garbage pails. They demonstrated a trail that is made out of metal. Actually, it's almost like it's little pieces of metal very close together, but the water can go through them instead of washing it away if it's wood. So there, there's a lot to be learned by going to these meetings, and it's not a monthly meeting. It's not that much of a monthly meeting, but they do want feedback from members on what their priorities are. You can share what your community is doing. You can arrange a visit to your community. So there are different ways that you can participate. My feeling is that I need to keep my focus on the grants and grant administration, because right now we have about $2 million in grants that's going to be requiring a lot of technical work in getting reimbursed for expenses that are coming in for the wastewater treatment plant study, the engineering planning grant. There's like 5 grants for the animal shelter. And we're looking for money for taking care of the flooding in Berkeley Heights from the stormwater pipes that have failed. So I really, while I think this is really valuable, I just think it would be great if someone from the Climate Smart Task Force or the Conservation Advisory Commission could take this over and go to these meetings. I did ask them, my contact is Jessica at Cornell Cooperative Extension, and I have a copy of the 23 member agreement, which is brand new because they've done some strategic planning and they want to keep this going and include more people. So the member agreement that they sent out is basically a questionnaire asking what you might be interested in in ways that you want to participate. They are going to have a lunch and learn, which will be a video thing in September. And they're going to have an in-person meeting in fall, October or November. And those are the meetings like I told you I went to, where we walked around and looked at what they were doing in a particular community and how they were trying to prepare and become resilient to flooding. So I just bring this to you. I can send you the questionnaire that they sent out if you want to look at it. And if anyone is interested in going to this and belonging to this, I think it's a very, very worthwhile thing to belong to.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. So the member would be a person, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if the member was the CAC or the task force, then let's say, we could rotate among attending so that it wouldn't be just one person's responsibility. I'm putting that out there, just kind of brainstorm.
Yeah, I could ask about that. I don't
Well,
see why not.
Maybe before I should jump to that area. Does someone have the time? I think I know I have the inclination. I don't have the time. I think it sounds like a really good program. I think we should be part of it. I would love to be part of it. I just can't, I personally can't do it at this time. But so if you all want to think about it, if anyone wants to take it on, it doesn't sound like that much, 2 meetings. And I mean, maybe I could do some of the virtual parts of it.
Mhm.
Was that 2 meetings a year, did we say?
No, it's, it might be more than 2. Well, they had one in May. And I was not able to go to that one. And now they have an education program in September called Lunch and Learn. And then there's going to be an in-person meeting in October or November. They probably won't meet in December. You know, it's not a lot of time commitment, but they do want to get feedback on what your issues are and what your town is doing.
Right.
And
Well-
they're there to really help, you know, help you see what other people are doing to address this issue. And also advise you when there's money available for initiatives that will help deal with flood.
Well, I think if it was a rotating membership, the way Mary was talking, that would be, you know, a little would spread, because you've been attending all these meetings, but if it were spread over several of us, that I think it might be more doable. The
Well,
meeting,
I think there would have to be one person as a contact, because they, you know, they're going to maintain a mailing list and they don't want to change it every month if different people participate. So if one person, I think that could work if one person would be the point person to get the emails, and then you could reach out, that person could reach out to the group and say, would you like to go to this meeting, or, you know, something like that.
Okay.
So how many communities are distance wise? You're talking about Beacon. Does it go all the way down to like Westchester, New York
Yes,
City, and all
it's-
the way up to Albany?
It's
Yeah.
down to Westchester. I've only gone as far as Catskill and
Mhm.
Beacon. I didn't go to the Westchester one.
And does it go all the way up to like,
Right now, there are 14 communities involved.
does it go north to Albany?
They're all along the river.
Yeah,
And
so
I
like it-
don't know how far north it goes.
Yeah, so you could go anywhere
Hudson.
from like Troy to Westchester for one of these meetings.
When they have an in-person meeting, they don't always have in-person meetings.
Right, right.
No, usually when they have an in-person meeting, it's a site visit to go and look and see what one community is doing. So the farthest north I've been is Hudson, and the farthest south is Beacon.
Would
Well,
that be a
and the
concern
question
in
is-
terms of travel if you're going so far? No, I know there's reimbursement for travel if, you know, if, for instance, they do something way up north, or, I mean, Westchester could be an hour and a
Well,
half.
the town should be able to reimburse you.
That's what I'm saying. So if
Yeah.
there's an issue for reimbursement for travel, I don't think, if there's an issue of travel and paying and gas with the price that it is, and we could definitely, I'm sure, reimburse for that. There's usually a mileage. I know, Zach, you probably know what the exact mileage is for reimbursement, but well, okay.
Yeah, I
So
believe the IRS just recently increased it. I want to say it's 65 cents a mile.
well, I just wanted to put that out there. I know that's not the issue. So, well, okay. So why don't you all think about it? If somebody would be willing to, as Kathleen suggested, just be the point person, get the emails, and then send them out to everybody and see who could go to what meeting or another. I mean, virtual, I think virtual would be obviously much more agreeable for most of us, but
And if anyone is interested in getting this member agreement, Mary sent that to you. I have it, the member agreement. Mary also sent you a partner agreement. The partner agreement does not pertain to us. It does not pertain to members. That's for the organizations that are involved. So you can ignore that one.
The other point is if none of us, because many of us are so overcommitted already, if you know somebody who would be interested in this topic and would be willing to take it on, I mean, we could certainly have another appointment to the CAC. We could certainly have more appointments to the task force. And if somebody would be willing to do that and be a member of the task force for that particular purpose, that would be terrific. So think
Yeah,
about
they want the person to be officially connected to the town
well, we could arrange that.
in some way.
We could arrange for that. Yeah, we can. Yeah, there's 8 members on the CAC. We can go up to 9. And the task force, there's no limitation on the number of members on the task force. So we could get, if anybody's interested in, joining the task force to work on this or anything else, they're certainly, I'm sure the town would be interested in their application. And I know Zach would certainly help moving an application along. So, okay. Well, I thank you, Kathleen, and we'll see where this one goes.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, I know, Zach, you do have to leave. So if it's okay with everyone else, I'd like to move the town board liaison report up to this point so Zach can, so he can get his report before he leaves.
Yep, that works for me as long as it's okay with everybody else. Thank you, Mary. Okay, so in terms of current development and projects happening in the town, we do not have any new update regarding Winston Farms. They are still collecting, to my understanding, still collecting all of their environmental related data. And they have not presented anything official to the board regarding any findings. We are going to be hosting the public regarding the potential senior living facility at the end of fall.
Zach, you're breaking up. The audio is breaking up.
We lost you.
Maybe he'll come back on.
Yeah, he's not muted, so. Yeah, he went off. He'll be back.
He's probably trying to leave and then come back on again.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, shall we wait a few minutes or should we?
So Mary, I do need to leave at 6:30.
Okay.
We might be done. I don't know.
You know what we could do while we're waiting, Carol, if you wanted to just fill us in on the planning board, and then we'll go back to Zach, and then we'll go to you, Skip, for.
Sure. Not much happened. We had a very short planning board meeting. We left at 8:45, started at 7:30. That's the shortest meeting we have ever had. As Zach said, we haven't done anything on Winston Farm. We haven't done anything of any, material impact on our town.
May and June.
Yeah, Zach, you're breaking up again.
I have give us an update as to the milfoil removal and the harvester operation in general. And I do believe that is all I have noted for this evening.
Zach,
Dropped out.
Zach. Yeah, Zach, you were breaking up, so we kind of left. You kind of left off when you were talking about not much on Winston Farm officially to the town, and after that you broke up. So you might have to rewind to that part of what you were talking about.
Hear anything in between?
Oh boy, which part, Mary? I apologize.
Oh, no, you mentioned about Winston Farm that the town had not heard anything officially about
Yes.
Winston Farm. And then after that, you broke up.
Oh, I apologize. So after, like I said, nothing official has been submitted to the board yet regarding Winston Farm. Believe that they're still in the middle of conducting their environmental review. And we haven't been given anything official with that. And then I segued into, we've been very inundated the last couple weeks with the police department issues and the Attorney General's report that was released not that long ago. I'm sure many of you have seen it or at least have heard rumors about it. I can't get into grave detail, but I just wanted to assure everybody that this board is working very diligently to address the concerns within the police department. There's going to be some difficult decisions that have to be made, but I believe this board has the courage to make those decisions and do what's best for the town of Saugerties. But all of those details will be forthcoming as soon as we're able to provide them. And then the harvester. I believe Eyal is away on vacation. I have not gotten a reply for him yet. I had reached out for data for the months of May and June and the beginning of July. So I'm hoping that as soon as he gets back to his email, he can provide me with that update so I can relay the harvester information for the last 60 days or so.
You mentioned, you started to mention something about Spalding Road.
Oh, then Spalding Lane, thank you. We have our next round of public hearings coming up regarding the potential senior living facility at the end of Spalding Lane. In order for the Dominican Sisters to get, full project completion, it's going to require the board to possibly address a zoning change. So we will see what the public turnout is at our next hearing. And then we'll be looking at the potential zoning changes to make that, make that facility whole.
When is that next public hearing?
I want to say that we are having, oh boy, I don't have my notes in front of me on that. I want to say there's a public hearing on the 25th, next Tuesday, actually, regarding this. I can confirm that via email with all of you in case any of you are looking to attend.
Zach, what is the zoning change that is being considered for the property?
It would require us, we're gonna have to address the height capacity. They're looking for, I want to say some of their structures exceeded the current height capacity that we allow for. And a lot of that has to do with, there's some issues with local fire departments not having the proper the proper rescue equipment. If there were a structure fire of that height, not all the departments have a ladder truck. So there's some reluctancy there amongst some members of our volunteer fire departments. So that's another consideration the board is considering as well.
So, but there's no land change zoning issue.
There would not be a land change, not to my knowledge. There is a bit of a discrepancy though, because some are claiming that there is actually, and I'm not an environmental expert, but that some of that land back there is actually designated federal wetland. But that does not appear on any sort of topographic map that we have. So there is that's a detail that is being ironed out as well.
Can't they look at don't we have a natural resources inventory that they could look at?
Yes, and I don't believe that showed on our resource inventory either. But there were concerns brought to the board during a previous board meeting during public comment that there may be there may be a federal designation there. So we're just looking to confirm that.
Well, it's right near those waterfalls going into the Hudson.
Yeah. Beautiful piece of property.
Okay.
And I believe that's all that I had noted for this evening.
Okay, well, thank you, Zach. Is there any
You're
questions
welcome.
for Zach? Okay, good. Okay. Appreciate that, Zach. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for moving me up on the agenda.
Okay, so why don't we go now to Carol and then we'll go to Skip. Carol, you were in the middle of talking about the planning board that you had a short meeting.
Other than it was very short and we didn't have anything that was materially impacting our town. You know, he brought up both of the projects that would, both the what I call the Sisters Project and the sudden I lost it, but anyway, so Winston Farm hasn't come before us at all. And it might be, sounds like many months still to go. I don't know, but they'll be, I'm sure, coming before us sometime before December, I think.
So,
And
let me ask a question about that. Zach says they're collecting environmental information.
correct.
Who's the they?
Right now, it's the owners.
Oh, so as to answer the secret questions for
Yeah,
mitigation?
It's their responses. They did an initial one, and then they had to do I gather a larger one. And so it's their responses, and then we will review it.
Okay.
And
Is
see
there
if-
a deadline on that, or is it an
I
open?
know
ended?
of. I don't, I'm sure there might be some sort of deadline in the statutes, but I don't really know them. It's up to the owners to speed it up if they want to.
If I may, I just wanted to go back for a moment to the question of, Mary said that more members could be added to the CAC or the CS, the task force, but don't members have to be appointed by the town government?
Yes,
And because I know, for instance, that Mary McNamara is very well versed in water issues, and so she might be a person to be a member. But I think that the process is in January, we get a letter saying, do you want to be on the board? I don't know if that can be accelerated.
yeah, I don't think there's any requirement that the appointments have to be in January. The board is making a yearly appointment, so if the appointment were in, let's say, June, so July, I think it would go for a year, but that we can confirm. Whether the board wants to stick to a January to December appointment, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it was ever really established. That's just the way they do it. Okay.
Mary and Elizabeth, this is Ken. The only thing to watch out for is that the original motion setting up the CAC had a number of members or maximum number of members. So you just want to be sure you're not at the maximum and then suggesting somebody else be added.
But the task force, I don't think there's a maximum for the task force.
That might be true, but didn't they set up that the CAC would be the task force?
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. And what we did then is the CAC is the task force, and then we set up a committee within the CAC, a task force within the CAC, so that, like, we had members, we had Steve on and we had Susan. They were not members of the CAC, but the way we structured it, they got appointed to the task force.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and the maximum for the CAC is 9, so 9, between 7 and 9. Okay. Okay, so Carol is finished with her report. Okay, Skip, here you go. CAC. Excuse me, CCA. CCA, follow up.
So I've been in contact with Jessica Strombeck trying to get information. First of all, the question was, how many people opted out? And as of yesterday, her response is they still don't know. So neither Jeff nor Strombeck know what percentage of people stayed in or what the percentages dropped out. You know, the other issues for us, we had a lot of issues with what the letter said, how it said it, and what was allowed. So Jessica suggested that we write a letter to the Department of Public Service, which oversees and limits what they can say. And to your question, Mary asked if in that letter there was 2 pages. And there was a front page which stated, the conditions, and then there was a frequently asked questions page. And Mary had asked, well, couldn't they, well, let me step back. Jessica said they couldn't explain that 50% renewables thing any more than they did because DPS wouldn't let them. Mary's response, couldn't we do it on the facts page? Couldn't we have that? Her response was no. Anything that comes out of an administrator has to be okayed by the DPS, which seems very limited. So I think we've got a couple of, well, at least I do, and I know Mary does, has a couple, and Mike had a couple problems with that letter. So I've composed a letter which I've sent them to Mary to edit because of her great editing abilities. And I think we should put a letter to DPS as the CAC saying, we worked really hard on this and you guys really messed it up because of your editing, and we're really unhappy with that. Jessica said that would be effective. I mean, pulling them into saying, hey, we really worked hard, what you did. And I've got a letter detailing, I collected from Mary and Mike some comments about what they felt about the letter. So as soon as that gets edited, I'll send it around to everybody. And I hope we can send that out. We'll agree to send that out as a letter to the DPS. The second thing is that Jessica had mentioned that there is a bill in the Senate, right, in the state Senate right now. Let me see what the name of it is. Let's see. So the name, it's S6899. It's called State and Local Clean Energy Partnership Act. What Jessica feels is it strengthens those administrators' ability to put CCA forward in more communities. Because right now there are regulatory rules about CCA. What this bill would do would make it legislative and give it more power. So I went and read it today, and it describes what CCA is, and it describes that this act would encourage agencies in the government to promote CCA more strongly. And then I went through a whole thing about what CCA was, which we already knew. So I wrote Hinchy asking if she supported that in May. She didn't write back. They're out of session right now. I got from her office that it's still in committee and it won't be brought up till next year, but it hasn't been defeated. And I also talked to, they said in Saugerties, Hinchy's office said, well, we can't give you any details about how she stands on it. Call Albany. So I called their offices in Albany and nobody got back to me. So Jessica thinks that Hinchy supports this bill that would, strengthen the administrator's position in CCA. I don't know if that means they could improve the letters on their own or not. But I wanted to talk to, somebody in Hinchy's office to see if that was the case. So she's going to speak at the next Saugerties Democratic Committee meeting. So I want to talk to her there about what she feels about the bill, since I can't get any answers from her minions. So that's where there's 2 letters in question. Jessica Stromberg thinks that both of them would help in putting out the CCA more. So I think we should I think we should send letters to the DSP and the Public Service Commission about those issues, because it certainly did lack, and it was a confusing letter from everybody. I was a liaison from the village, and people would call and want you to explain to him what that 50% option really meant, i.e. that is actually you're getting 100% renewables, only 50% was from New York, 50% was from out of state. They said, oh, and they were really buoyed by that. Why we weren't allowed to say that, why the administrator wasn't allowed to say that. Well, I take that back. We or the town would have been able to explain that situation on our website or communications with the public. It's unclear whether we could have added something to the opt-out letter with the heading Town or Village of Saugerties, explaining that or not. But it's water over the dam, but maybe pressure from us would change it. I mean, it's going to come up in another 2 years, and there's going to be another rollout. So I think it's important to state our cases in both cases. So that's what
Yeah, is there a companion bill in the assembly?
Yes, I think there is.
Did you connect to Sarah Hannah?
I did not. But that's,
She might be, she's
Yeah.
really pushing
yes,
the whole issue.
I did think about that and I didn't follow through just because I was trying to write the damn letter.
Well, maybe in the letter that both she can be copied as well as
Right,
Hinchey.
right. Okay, yes. But I'd actually like to find out from her what she feels about it too. I read it and it didn't seem that enabling. It kind of just said what things were, and that if community, choice aggregation and, the other, what was the other acronym?
CDP?
Your district generation distribution, were promoted more, then more renewables would happen. But it didn't, and it suggested that the DEC and other people take that on, consider that, because it certainly supports the Energy Act, the climate, CLPC, Climate Leadership and
Yes.
Community Protection Act, which lays out all those percentages that they're trying to get by
Yeah.
2030 and 2040, and that supporting CCA would help promote those goals. It was basically, it was a statement of that. So I don't know if it's really going to be that effective. Jessica thinks it is. I want to get Michelle's hit on it, and also Sarah Hannah's, so
Good.
I think there's opportunity to, I don't know if it'll do any good, but at least voice our opinion that what they're doing right now isn't as effective as it could be. So.
On the point of the CDG, Community Solar, which Jessica had mentioned when she spoke to us, I know both Westchester and Jewel, they want legislation that allows CCA, that can be incorporated into CCA, opt-out community solar. They are really pushing for this. And I'm glad you mentioned that is part of the bill that you're reviewing.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason they're pushing it, is to get the community solar to be an opt-out.
That must be what they mean by community.
Generation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
Community, yeah.
Community distributed generation.
right.
They use that term a lot.
Yeah.
They use some community solar, but I think that's what they mean.
Well,
That's
that's what's on our bill.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you have a community solar, that's what they call it.
Uh-huh.
Community distribution, something, generation.
Only
Distributed generation, CDG, right?
Only government,
Really, they can make it really tough on you.
They
Only
can
beginning with
really
C.
come up with community choice
They're
Aggravation.
Right.
aggravation.
good at acronyms,
What it was.
they're great on
Aggravation.
letters, like DC, CCA, it
Well, that's
goes
the other thing.
on and on.
Everything
That's
begins with
about
C.
PAC, I might remind you.
All right, so anyway,
So just wrapping up, I'm having guests this weekend and I didn't have a chance, I won't have a chance to look at, but I will look at the letter and make some suggestions, Skip. And then we can get a draft out to everybody and you can all make suggestions as well. So are we in agreement that this is something that the task force wants to support? I should have started with that question. So everybody on board with that? Any objections?
Absolutely. Thanks, Skip.
Yeah, so, okay, so we're on board to issue a letter regarding the opt-out letter. And with respect to the legislation, Skip, are you, with respect to the legislation, are you suggesting that we also, as a task force, support that legislation? Or do we do it individually?
my response, I called or I emailed Jessica to see, because, you know, the session's over. It's in committee. It was never brought to the floor. She was very excited that we were interested in writing the letter. She said it would be very helpful. And she was still positive that it was going to come up next session. You know, when she first mentioned it, she said it was really time sensitive and it had to be done this session. Well, it didn't get done. It didn't get out of committee.
Right.
So, but I think your suggestion, Mike, about talking to Sarah Hannah about it would be good, because then it would be pushed in two different, you know, houses. So, and I would be interested to see what she says about it. I don't know. Again, I read it. If anybody wants to read it, it's actually not that long. But it didn't seem like it really mandated anything. It just said, these are our legislative intentions. It didn't say you have to do this. I don't know. Maybe I should read it again. Maybe I missed something. But that's why I also wanted to talk to Nancy, because I heard that she wasn't on board with it. Jessica said she was on board with it. Her people couldn't give me a concrete answer. And if she wasn't on board with it, I'd like to know why, because I do respect her views on, you know, environmental things. And it seems a no-brainer to be positive. So I think we should investigate those things.
Okay.
See what the
Well,
politicians think.
Yeah.
And let them know that we're interested in this, that it's not something where it's not on our radar. We want you to do this if it's actually going to help. Also, you go back to those, the letters and stuff. If you put opt-out community solar in with opt-out CCA, and if that's what she wants, I don't know. I don't think there's enough community solar to serve all of the community.
Well, that could be too.
You know what I mean? Because there's a waiting list, I think. So there was, I don't know, Mary, did I get what you said wrong about Climate Smart Communities website? It said that to get points, you had to sign up 50% of the accounts in any community to get any points for it. Is that true?
Yes, let me clarify. Under the PE, the actions that we looked at, there is one that says CCA, okay? And I looked at CCA to see if we could get 18 points for CCA. Right, okay. What it says is number one, the option that the town picks has to be 100% default. So the answer is no, we don't get 18 points because the town picked 50% as the default. So that's one part of that PE, I think it's PE 8. That's one part of that action. The second part of that action is CDG, Community Solar. Under the second part of that action, it says that in order to get, I think it's like 18, well, to get points, and it's a lot of points. In order to get points for opt-out CDG, you have to document that at least 50% of the account, that at least 50% of the accounts are in the program. That's one of the requirements. This is for opt-out CDG. However, there is no opt-out CDG
No,
that's offered, right? Right? So that's,
not by the
to
town.
answer your question, you heard me right. It was 50% of the accounts.
And my contention is that even, I don't think there's enough CDG to supply 50% of the residents.
From New York State.
To do that. And the other comment is, when they say 100%, we didn't sign up for 100% renewable. I contend
That we did,
it's just the verbiage that was laid on us
exactly.
by the DSP
Mhm.
that we couldn't say that in the letter. In fact, everybody who filed that default is getting 100% renewable energy. So it's only that glitch in the verbiage that's stopping us from getting those points. Because in fact, we are satisfying, we've got a certain amount of people in town. I don't know if there's a percentage, but we offered, and that offer, whatever it says on the document, is 100% renewable.
Except not defined by the PSC. That's not how they define it. And that's,
Well,
it goes-
whoever defined it, the fact is, it's 100% renewable. The fact is.
go
So
tell it
we
to the judge. Go tell it to the judge, Skip.
That's what these letters are about, or this one letter is about. That you really screwed us up by changing that verbiage, then not letting us explain that stopped us from, getting points for another important state program,
Mhm. I know.
as well as discouraged people who
Right.
did look at the.
I still can't quite figure out what they're protecting themselves from with that verbiage. I don't understand what
I
is
do.
going on at the state level that they have to do that.
I understand why they're doing it. I think why they're doing it is because they want to encourage 100% renewable in the state. So by having that, the requirement, it promotes 100% renewable in the state. It's an economic thing.
Well, why not just not have that be an offer? And then you'd have to go to 100% renewable, or you'd go to fossil fuel. Why even have it?
Well,
I can't figure out why it helps the state at all. But I might be a little dull.
did that PE, whatever it was, say it had to be 100% from New York State?
What, the CDG?
No, the CCA.
Oh, yeah.
Had to
Yeah.
be from the state.
To get those 18,
Well, it
Right.
had to be, wait. It had to be 100% default. And 100% default is New York State, wind, solar, and hydro. So they're trying to promote these energy sources. They are trying to promote this within the state, is my view.
Yeah,
I just don't, I don't get it.
I don't either, just.
Why the town would be influenced to go that way? I don't understand what the gain is.
Well, I talked to Freddie that week before, and there was some real crazy misunderstanding. Maybe I didn't understand Freddie, but he said, I okayed the 50% because we can change later. Because I said, we want 100%, but that wasn't the case. Once he went to change, he couldn't. And there's this whole rigmarole about the deadline for that between April 4th and April 4th.
We gotta find out.
It's
that 50% still means 100%,
know that
the one that he
at
chose.
one point, Freddie said they were pressed
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
say what program they wanted for the default. What Freddie said to me is that they had the ability to change later. Because I said to him, he says, we want 100%, not 50%. And he said, oh, we can change later. I was told we could change later, but they couldn't.
Can he change next year, or is this a how long is this contract?
2 years.
2?
So
Okay,
what we're fighting for is what's coming up in 2 years.
okay.
That's, I mean, the program's going now. It's doing, you can't change any of that stuff now. But if we're gonna change it, if we're gonna have something better in the future and all our, you know, we're writing these letters and we're making the town board aware and we're making ourselves aware and Jewel aware that that's not what we wanted and that it's deceptive. So it's looking forward to the next round of this.
I think we need to get someone on the PSC board.
Oh, good luck.
I vote for Skip.
do we
I
know?
vote Skip.
I
I
vote Skip
nominate
too.
Skip. Is there a second?
They need someone from the hoi polloi. Not that you're hoi polloi, but
I'm wondering if anybody else is in the village and got the recent letter from Central Hudson about being signed up for the community choice aggregation. I got
Everybody,
a letter, there's nothing about 50% or 100%. They just said you're signed up. And I'm already signed up with East Light Solar, so there was absolutely no explanation about how that ties in.
okay, so again, East Light Solar is a community, you know.
Community solar.
And it is different
That's
Then-
not the CCA.
because the CCA is your power source. Community solar, East Light, is a whole different program. It's not your
CCG.
source of energy.
But he said that the two work together. I called Jewel to ask them about it.
Well, they work together to. create-
He said I still have East Light Solar and I'm in community choice, so I'm like, I'm confused.
So what community solar is your choice of power source? East Light Solar is not. East Light Solar is you investing in community solar and getting a discount, a monetary discount on your bill for doing that action.
And he said I would still get that. I would
Yes,
still get the
because remember,
10%.
it's not your power source.
Yeah, I get it now that you're explaining it that way.
It's not your power source. It's a discount for investing in community solar,
Mhm.
okay.
right? It has nothing to do.
I'll take it. And guess
Haven't we
what?
been here before?
I won't have to worry about it for long because I'm signing up to get solar panels on my roof.
Great.
There you go.
That's what I did too.
That's what it was. And hell with them.
And I have an all-electric house,
Right.
so
Okay. Okay, I think we may have exhausted this topic. I don't know if we have.
are you exhausted about this topic?
Illuminated.
Karen? Is that what you-
Have we,
I'm
have
totally
we
exhausted.
illuminated the topic? Pardon the pun. But I think we have exhausted it. Any other comments on this?
I'm
Elizabeth,
definitely exhausted.
Elizabeth, you have your hand up. You want to talk?
Exhausted. Community aggravation.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on. Are there any announcements? No announcements? Nope. Okay, I'll just make one point, though. I think, just to follow up on what Skip was saying, I think Leslie, I'm sorry, Leslie had to leave, and Nicole, but I think from the point of going ahead with this letter, I think Leslie, as the representative to the EMC, where we have these different communities represented, that once we get something together, I think this is something she could bring to the EMC so we could get other communities perhaps involved, because if we're having this problem, we're not the only community. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Good idea.
Okay, motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
Elizabeth seconds, all in favor?
Hey,
Okay,
Yeah,
now we,
Mike, before you get off, I want to know what that window is in your room,
whose room?
in Mike's room. He's got a window out and I'm just curious.
This window,
Yeah.
Behind you.
it's a little window leading to my house.
Oh, that opens in. Okay, got
It
it.
opens in.
Got it. Okay. Just, you know, it's fun to see everybody's environment.
And it's old and needing
Yeah.
repair.
We only adjourned. Oh, no, we only adjourned for the task force. on
Okay, Kevin.
safety. Is there a motion to,
I'm just showing my environment.
Thanks, Kevin.
That was too quick, Kevin. Put it on.
Yeah, I need more.
yeah, no,
You'll see at the end.
okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the CAC June meeting?
Oh,
Elizabeth,
second.
Mike seconds, all in favor? Aye, any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. The milfoil harvesting report, Zach really filled us in on that. The fact that there is no report. Are there any announcements under CAC that we didn't cover? Elizabeth?
I wanted to ask, perhaps this could be, are we going to be meeting in August okay, well, just briefly, as briefly as I can, I've gotten very interested in a little group called Wildlife Watch because they made me aware of a bill called the Pittman-Robertson Act in 1934, in which federal funds were given to states according to, to state wildlife. The Fish and Wildlife of New York State is part of the DEC, I think. And there's been every time that a gun is sold, there's an excise tax that goes into this giving of funds to the state. And it seems like a very cruel thing in a way that the Fish and Wildlife Service, that's supposed to be protecting wildlife, is that they have wildlife killing contests, and they have a lot of programs that promote guns. And while the number of hunters has decreased in the last few years, as we all know, gun violence has risen in the state and in the nation. And for instance, there was one bill that's been turned into law in New York State that allows 12-year-olds to have access to AR-15s for hunting rather than 14-year-olds, which seems absolutely absurd to me. And so I wondered if we're thinking of trying to get a bill before in the New York State legislature that promotes something called Recovering America's Wildlife Act, RAWA, with these limitations that states would have to adhere to before getting federal funds. And I don't know if this whole topic comes under the DEC. It would seem to me to be an important topic, but that's, that may be outside the scope of our mandate. I don't know. Has anybody else heard of this? The Pittman-Robertson Act of 1934. It just seems like a really strange and not useful bill now, that the way it's applied.
Well, Google it and see what it says. Is that the one that gives the 12-year-olds the right to have arms, AR-15s?
Well, as interpreted by the New York State legislature, both the Senate and the Assembly have passed it. And
I thought it was
Yes.
passed in 1930.
no, this doesn't have to. It's just a very old act that has it's been diverted. The whole point of the act to protect wildlife has been diverted into allowing the amount of state funds to be issued to each state's Fish and Wildlife or service depends on the number of guns that are the excise tax on guns, which just seems really,
Is that the Pittman-Robertson Act or the other act you were talking?
no, the Recovering America's Wildlife Act is an attempt to improve the Pittman-Robertson Act. And that passed the House last year, but not the Senate. So it's going to be up for renewal again. But that's on the federal level. So it's a very involved issue. There's a group called Wildlife Watch, which if anyone is interested, could explain further about this. I didn't know if it's something that we would consider getting involved in.
I would get more information about it and be more clear about it, because I'm very unclear about what you're saying and what act is 1930 and what act gave 12-year-olds the right to. So if,
Well, that's not an act. It was just passed by the New York State legislature.
if it
Allowing-
must have been some kind of act then, right? It was passed by the legislature. It was some kind of bill.
I think, yes, I think it was proposed by the New York State DEC, the Fish and Wildlife Service. I'd have to review all the facts too.
Maybe Elizabeth, what you could do is just email, if you email me and I'll pass it along to everyone, some more information about it. So,
Okay, I'd be
Yeah.
glad to do that.
Please.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other announcements? Hearing none, I move to adjourn.
Second,
Mike seconds. All in favor?
Bye.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay, we are adjourned.
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the evening, everyone. We're moving
you.
along. We're moving along.
I
folks.
didn't catch. Is there a meeting August? Yeah,
Yes, there is.
perfect.
Melissa,
All right, folks.
Thank you.
See
Kevin.
you.
Good
bye-bye.
night, everyone.